When I first brought it, I played Soul Silver obsessively for weeks. I loved everything, the Pokemon, the people, and the storyline. My beloved team consisted of Meganium, Espeon, Mischievous, Ampharos, Vulpix, and Poliwhirl. I loved them all dearly, and thanks to my Pokewalker, I leveled them up all easy. Another source of the amusement for me was the Pokegear. I love that people you have met could ring you up and request for a battle, or just rattle on about nothing. My favorite of the regular callers was, of course, the infamous Joey. Hey, you know my super cool Rattata? My Rattata is different from regular Rattata. It's like my Rattata is the top percentage of all Rattatas. You know what I'm saying? He always say. Then one day he called me for a battle. Well, this is new. He never asked for a rematch before. As I remembered, he only has his Rattata. Suspecting that his Rattata had maybe risen a couple of levels, I traveled back to where Joey stood. I've been waiting, the text read, waiting to see how much Rattata has changed. The battle music started and the screen split. To my surprise, Rattata has become Eradicate. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was something different about its claws. They were yellowish and had a brick pattern, like they belonged to another Pokemon. But at the time, I didn't give it much thought. As I suspected, Joey's Eradicate has grown to level 30. I set out Espeon, Eradicate attacked first, and used Dig. That was strange. I didn't think Eradicate can learn Dig. Anyway, it was no match for my Espeon, who creamed him with Psychic. Eradicate fell with a scrambled cry that was different to how I remembered it. But again, I didn't think much of it. The screen returned to the overworld. Oh, alright, Joey's text read, but I won't lose to you again. Rattata will be stronger next time we'll meet. And handed me an iron. I giggled. Joey was still calling his Eradicate a Rattata. It was a few days later that I had beaten the final gym before the Elite Four. I was about to head to the Victory Road when I got a call from Joey. He wanted to battle again, and I thought it would be some okay experience, so I flew back to Route 30 to talk to Joey. The battle started, and this time, I knew something was horribly wrong. Rattata was sprouting an orange, fiery tail, like that of a Rapidash. In addition, the area around its new tail was a purplish-red color, like it was bruised or bleeding, and I could see grotesque stitches holding the tail on. What had Joey done to it? It's like he's sewn a Rapidash's tail onto Eradicate. When the Eradicate used Flamethrower, I realized with horror that's exactly what he had done. Eradicate let out a scrambled noise. It sounded like it was in pain. Eradicate was hurt, the text read. Eradicate's health went down by a quarter. Flamethrower did not affect the user, so I was confused until I realized that Rattata was not used to using fire attacks, and its body was being damaged by the foreign attack type. I didn't want to hurt the Eradicate further, but I had to. I set out Poliwhirl and used Surf. It was super effective, and Eradicate fainted. When we returned to the overworld, Joey said, "And yet another loss. No doubt about it, you're tough. Being beaten is soft and actually feels good now. Still, I was sure Rattata was stronger." "It's Eradicate!" I screamed at the DS. "Stop calling it that! Stop hurting it!" Joey, of course, didn't hear me. Instead, he gave me an iron. I promised myself that I would never battle Joey again, even if he called me. A couple of weeks passed, and I had entered the Kanto region. I have almost forgotten about Joey when I received the call, inviting me to battle. I ignored it and continued on down Route 5. However, after a few steps, he called me again. This time when I picked up, I heard Radicate's cry. "Where are you going? Route 30 is the other way!" I shrieked and threw my DS away from me. It clattered onto the floor and stayed there. Afraid I had broken it, I picked it up again after a few minutes. It hadn't, so I continued playing. No matter where I tried to go, I would only go for a few steps before Joey called me with that same freaky message. I decided to face the music and battle him. Steeling myself for what I might see, I'd enter the battle. Eradicate had a pair of white-blue wings attached to his sides as well as the Rapidash tail. Maybe from a Pelipper? The area around where the wings were stitched on was horribly messy and red. Raticate went first and used water pulse. It hardly harmed my Mischievous, but the words Raticate was hurt flashed across the screen and took a third of its health. I took the rest with Psybeam. I got called back 2 more times during that month, and each time the attacks it used, Thundershock and Razor Leaf, would take more of its health until I knew that the next time we fought, I wouldn't have to attack it at all. When he did call me, I knew I couldn't escape it, so I just went along with it. By now, Raticate was so gory and full of stitches that I could hardly recognize it. I felt like crying. Raticate now wore an oval-like statue around its waist, and its eyes were blue and it had a purplish hue around them. I had no idea what new Pokemon had died to disfigure this damn Raticate further, but I decided it didn't matter. Raticate used Ice Beam. This did a surprising amount of damage to my Ampharos, but as I suspected, the damage Raticate took depleted its health bar completely. Raticate let out an anguished yowl and disappeared from the screen. Expecting to see the words, Raticate fainted. I was shocked and horrified to read the words. Raticate has died instead. I stared at the screen. Dead? Raticate can't be dead. You can't die in a Pokemon game. That's not how it works. Joey said something different too. Rattata? What's wrong? When I tried talking to him again, nothing happened. Fully spooked, I left for Kanto again. I wanted nothing more than to forget this incident. I was convinced that I would never have to battle Joey again. His only Pokemon have apparently died. I was wrong. I was just about to enter Mount Silver when I got the call. I swore of him when I saw it was Joey. What more can he do with a dead Raticate? Knowing it was useless to ignore the call, I flew all the way back to where he stood. For some reason, his sprite had changed. I couldn't see what it was because the sprite was too small. I also noticed that the trainer that used to stand next to Joey was nowhere to be seen. I talked to Joey. The text read, I've become one with Rattata and become much stronger. Are you ready? The battle began. I almost wanted to vomit. Joey, or what was left of him, stood in the place where his Raticate once stood. His hair was matted with blood and his face horribly disfigured by his new buck teeth, fairy body, and mangled claws. The stitches holding his body together were badly sewn, and every time his nose twitched, a fresh drop of blood fell from the tip of his snout. Joey had sewn the parts that he hacked off of Raticate into himself. The image was so terrifying and so horrible that I could barely look at him. Joey used Hyper Feint. The attack hit my Ampharos, but did shit all damage. Joey's health went down 1/5. It was my turn to attack. I used Thunder, hoping I'd get lucky on my first try. However, a text box appeared on the screen. Ampharos is too terrified to move. I cursed. Joey attacked again, this time with Crunch. This did a lot more damage. More than half of my Ampharos's health is gone now. Joey's health depleted a little more. When I tried to attack, Ampharos was once again too terrified to move. Hoping I could wait it out until he killed himself, I mashed the A button. Joey used Crunch again. Ampharos's health bar ran out and he fainted. I brought out Mischievous so that it wouldn't be affected by any normal type moves. This turned out to be a good move as Joey used Double Edge. Mischievous was unaffected. Joey was hurt. Then an ungodly cry as Joey fell off from the screen. Joey has died. My player was sent back to the old world. Joey's mangled sprite was in front of me. Raticate features still visible. I realized that I was silently crying. My tears splattered onto the touchpad in a state of shock. I stood there, not moving, for a full 5 minutes. I wasn't unable to draw a counter into my mind. Eventually, I brought my Ampharos to the Pokemon Center. When the nurse gave him back, she said, "Whatever happened to this Pokemon, don't let it happen again." From then on, Ampharos could never fight Eradicate again. He would always be too terrified to move. I don't know why I headed back to where Joey once stood. I just felt like I had to do it. When I arrived, Joey was nowhere to be seen. In his place was an item. I picked it up. It was an iron.